All right, Mark.
You know
Yo,
what's up.
let's get it shaking. Let's get it shaking. I'm ready to go. This is a
So,
real topic. Yo, if you're in the chat, send it to a friend. This is going to be one of those hot topics. Not necessarily spicy between Kamari and I. Of course, you'll get that. But this is something that needs to be discussed. Like, this really needs to be discussed. It doesn't matter whether your people are black, white. Send them this link. Let them tap in. We need to have a discussion because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. And
let's
I don't
create
even
some
believe that it's
solutions.
real. But go ahead.
We're gonna create some solutions together too.
Right. Some real solutions.
Yeah.
This is a show about accountability and responsibility and elevation. So
Amen.
that's what we finna do. So OG Mall, we were having a conversation yesterday. We were talking about whether or not racism is real. Whether or
Hmm.
not racism is real, what is racism? People tend to throw out different definitions. How does it apply to what we are doing right now? Is this the reason why, we're at the bottom when it comes to the black community? Is this the reason why anything? We tend to just throw that out there, blame game when it comes to everything. But we're gonna we're gonna have some maybe some difficult combo, and we also got our two segments, our community member highlight that we'll jump on later, and then we have a new segment. I wanted to call it "Sorry, I'm Not Sorry." Kamari convinced us to change it to a hard pill to swallow, so we'll definitely, that'll get it a little spicy as well. But let's get Kamari. Tell us what you were thinking as far as
So,
with Florida and everything.
okay, so I wanted to start with the racism thing. So, obviously, like you said, different people have different um, definitions of what racism is. And so I looked up what racism is according to like Webster. So I just was like, let me just go there. So it says a belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities, and the racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. So behavior or attitudes that reflect and foster this belief, racial discrimination or prejudice. So like originally I'm just, well, I guess to my thought of what racism is just like somebody treating me unfair based off of my skin color, based off of how I look. Because I'm black, I can't do this, and so they're racist. So that's just my meaning for it. But I think when it comes to holding us back, or when it comes to seeing different places still have rules in place for specific people, it's kind of just disgusting at 2023. And all the work people have tried to do, have been successful at, or maybe haven't been successful at, the fact that we're still here having these kind of conversations is just annoying and sad. And I think there's a million different ways to look at it, and I also think there's a million different ways to go about solving it. I just don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye on everything, or like every black person will be like, hey, let's all move in this one direction. Because a lot of us are saying the same things, and then a lot of us are complacent. And I feel like, I don't know if we'll ever see eye to eye to move as like one big unit. And that's the sad part. So,
One
um,
big unit, you mean every single
like
ethnicity?
the majority of black people all just saying, hey,
Oh,
this is
just
how we
black people.
now operate, this is how we're now going to do things. Because I feel like we've been saying things, and a lot of us have been saying the same things for so long, and it's just like, okay, well, what is the thing that's going to stick for us to move forward as a whole, or is that even possible?
Right. And a lot of times we tend to throw racism as an excuse for everything. A
Hmm.
lot of, no matter what we're going through. And that's when I asked you the question yesterday. I said, okay, when have you experienced racism?
Right. And I
And
told you, oh yeah, and I told you in the nail salons, in the beauty supply store, yeah, mostly
so Kamari, how old are you?
34.
34. I'm 36. Um, Kamari in her 34 years, when I asked her if she's experienced racism, her response is at the nail salon, or you said beauty supply store, right?
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking like,
Just that comes to mind. Now, of course, that's not, we're not
like, I
saying,
didn't dig deep on it.
right. So if somebody just puts you on the spot, but my point is that for us to be focused on something so much, and when it comes to mind, for us only to be impacted in, where we're getting our hair products, or, where somebody's painting and, trimming our nails, it doesn't impact us that much. If that's what we're really thinking, like, because a lot of times I think that we build up this boogeyman as racism, and I don't even think we're the ones building it up, to keep it real. I think that a lot of white liberals and Democrats are building it up because they're trying to sell us on something that we always talk about, and to sell you on something, they have to first create the problem. So the first create the problem, they're telling you, yo, racism is this, racism is that, it's terrible, it's horrible. You even had Joe Biden, when he did the Howard commencement speech, he told a group of black people, and this is when he made the comment, oh yeah, I'm not just saying this because I'm at a black HBCU, black historically, just lost. Uncle Joe's lost. He said, I'm not just making this comment because I'm at a, talking to black people, but white supremacy is the biggest threat to America. Now, how do you have a man who probably single-handedly wrote the bill, the most quote unquote racist thing with the crime bill, that has destroyed more families than any other politician in probably the history of our country, talking about the number one threat to America's white supremacy? But then when you're running for the presidency and you're campaigning, you say that your number one priority is the LGBTQ community. It's all BS. They have to create this boogeyman monster under our bed. So therefore, they think that they want us to think that, oh, racism is such a problem, we can't solve this by ourselves. We need the Democrats to help us out. We need these people. So they create the monster. And just like the monster under your bed, if you believe in it, then it's real. Like, that fear is real. If you don't believe in it, then it's just kind of like something that you giggle at. It's something that's funny. So when we go through life and we accept racism as something that is holding us back, when we actually dig deep into it and say, like, yo, what situations is this holding you back from? Is it really something significant enough to where it's a valid excuse for you not to get to where you're looking to get to? And even if it is real, even if it is true, does it make sense for you to buy into it? Because it's like that saying, whether you believe you can do it or you believe you can't do it, whatever you believe, you're right. So does it even make sense for us to think about it? Like, that's the first thing. And when we even talk about racism, I think that they changed the definition of what racism really was. I think it was truly a race, a competition. It was a competition. And then when you throw the ism on there, it's creating unfair advantages for a particular competition, based on who's competing. Now, I understand that, but the only way to combat that is to win. Understand where it's unfair. Understand how you can use this to your advantage. Understand how to play the game. Understand how to win the game. And then once we win the game, then we can make the rules in our favor. Or we can make the rules as even or whatnot, as whatever we want to do, rather than just sitting back and complaining and just giving racism more power than it truly has over our lives. So that's my little soliloquy.
That would ultimately be the goal, to get past that. And I think that there are a lot of people who are now, how can I say it? Like, our younger generation is more woke to what is happening. They're seeing, like, racism in real life. These George Floyd things are coming up. Like, we see all this stuff on the internet, like, way more clearly than we did about reading things in a newspaper maybe years ago. Like, everything is in our face, every incident, you could go on TikTok and click racism. You're going to find a million videos on things that are happening around the world. And so you have a mixed group of people with mixed emotions. There may be people who live in other areas who feel like they feel it every day, or people who live in certain towns who feel like they, can't get to a certain level because of, and I'm sure it's still out there, and we're looking at it from a point of, you can do better now. You have the opportunity, you have the space to do better now. And so I just think it's just a mixed group of people with mixed emotions, with things still happening, with a lot of people probably feeling like there's no point, or there's a lot of people who are saying like, it doesn't affect me as much now, so I don't even care to do anything about it. And so it's just really trying to figure out, how do we take control over, how do I want to put it? Like, how do we take control over the minds of others to see that there's value in winning this race? Or even if it is a race, like, how can we actually still win at this stage in the game? Like, how do you motivate people to even believe that? And so I think kind of starting with those like fundamental things, like voting, like, should we be voting? What is the advantages or disadvantages of voting or not voting? Who should we be voting for? Why should we be voting for them? How often should that fluctuate? If we're saying, okay, let's go with Democrat this year, and then in the next 10 years, let's go with Republican, like, does that even? So I think people finding out those fundamental things will ultimately make things better if people can understand from a low level what is the point. Because sometimes, like we were talking about the other day, you know, if we're watching Wheel of Fortune and there's two white people and a black person, and we're always going to go for the black person just because, then a lot of us may do that in when it comes to choices and when it comes to voting, when it comes to those things. So it's like, help us understand, or give us the tools to understand. There's this one girl who breaks stuff down, like political stuff down, so relatable that it's like, I get it. Cause like, this isn't something I naturally tend to like go for, but like, she broke it down. So I'm like, maybe we should start from that. Like, what is the point? How do we even begin to care? How do we even put ourselves in position to learn what to do and make the right choices to even believe we can win again? So that's kind of just my thought. But it seems like the chat is going a little crazy today.
Yeah. All right. So let's get Miss Shirley first. Miss Shirley wrote, "It's real, and black folks practice it more with our own culture. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I believe
It's
that.
generational, embedded from enslaving our ancestors." All right, then we got Passport Rad. What's good, big bro? Got the big homie checking in. Make sure y'all tap in with Rad. It's a system, a silent system that did the damage already. Acknowledge it, but move on. Don't let it hold you back, but it's very real. That's kind of like, that's the journey. Like, okay, it's a system. I realize it's a system. I realize it's silent. I realize the damage has already been done. I acknowledge it, but I won't let it hold me back from anything. That's my, literally, that's my thought process. That's been my journey with it. Like, even from, you know, when I was, you know, one of those people that first, you know, was talking like Black Lives Matter. Now I hate Black Lives Matter. I hate the organization. But you kind of go through this journey, bro. Nothing is holding me back. First off, white supremacy, it seems to be something that white liberals and Democrats talk about. Maybe y'all feel guilty of the advantages that y'all have. I don't know what it is. But first off, it's almost arrogant. Y'all are not even supreme. Y'all are not number one. Y'all are not number two. Y'all are not number three. So how can we talk about white supremacy? We're competing against the wrong people. And a lot of times it's almost like we're having a conversation about like Harlem. Harlem, you could have a project right across the street from a dope, you know, luxury building with two totally different demographics living in them. And the people living in the projects, they're competing with the person down the street from them. I mean, the person down the hallway from them. Like, yo, who got the new J's? Who got this and that? They're not even going outside or looking out their window trying to compete